that's what it was. And after the sparring, we respected each other. Like, it was a different type vibe after we sparred, honestly. Now it was like, oh, damn, bro, like, damn. Like, we really started to get to know each other, you feel me? Because when he came to our gym, he was popular. Like, Shakur was the guy.
They knew him.
Everybody knew him, in amateurs.
One thing I can say, though, because
The boxing world just got flipped upside down, and nobody saw this coming. A leaked sparring video shows Keyshawn Davis absolutely destroying Shakur Stevenson in the gym. And I'm talking about a clean knockout that has everyone questioning everything they thought they knew about these fighters. This isn't some amateur footage or grainy phone video. This is crystal clear evidence of what happens when the cameras aren't supposed to be rolling, when fighters think nobody's watching, when the real truth comes out. And let me tell you, the implications of this leak are about to send shockwaves through the entire boxing community. Because while Stevenson been building his reputation as this untouchable defensive master, here's Davis making him look ordinary. Here's Davis landing clean shots that nobody else has been able to land. Here's Davis exposing weaknesses that Teofimo team has been desperately trying to hide from the public eye.
Teo against Shakur playing out, because you want me to tell you the truth, like, this fight could have been the winner's bracket fight. In other words, they're jumping to it, but at the end of the era, it may have been Teo and Shakur, especially if you would never fight Shakur, right? How do you see this fight playing out?
I see it playing out, let's say, I see it starting off slow.
Okay.
And then I see as Shakur wins the first round, as Shakur wins the second round, slowly, I think Teo is going to eventually start picking it up and start imposing his will.
Right.
And then, you know, it's just going to go from there. That's how I think it's going to go.
But here's where this gets absolutely wild. Davis isn't just some random sparring partner getting lucky. This guy has been in the ring with both Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez during their amateur days, and he's been watching these two develop for years. He knows their styles better than anyone. He knows their weaknesses better than their own coaches. And when Davis talks about Lopez being a capable fighter, he's not just giving some generic compliment. He's speaking from experience. He's seen what Lopez can do when the pressure's on. He's felt Lopez's power firsthand. And here's the kicker. If Davis can knock out Stevenson in sparring, what does that tell us about how Lopez might handle Stevenson when they finally meet? Davis is essentially giving us a preview of what could happen, and it's not looking good for the guy everyone thinks is unbeatable.
Boom, sparring day come. I'm confident. I'm knowing I'm about to go in here and beat him up, right? Man, I get in the ring, man. Why I cannot hit this man, right? I cannot hit him, but he touching me. So I'm like, oh, this is different.
He different.
Like, he different. So I just keep, you know, I'm 14, he's 16. I just keep going, I just keep going. So some getting through, some not, some getting through, some getting not. And I felt as if I was to step off the gas pedal, he was gonna get me. So I just had to keep going, you feel me? And I know he explained that a lot of times in interviews, like that's why he respect me so much, because in that sparring right there, I didn't respect him at all. I was just trying to F him up, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what it was. And after the sparring, we respected each other. Like, it was a different type vibe after we sparred, honestly. Now it was like, oh, damn, bro, like, damn. Like, we really started to get to know each other, you feel me? Because when he...
Now Davis wants everyone to understand something crucial about that sparring session. This wasn't some setup or publicity stunt. Rob, who's presumably involved in organizing these sessions, isn't there to embarrass anyone or create viral moments. These are serious training sessions with serious consequences. Davis explains that when he stepped into the ring with Stevenson, he immediately realized he was dealing with a different level of fighter. Stevenson's counters were connecting clean while Davis couldn't find his range. Every shot Davis threw was being read, anticipated, and punished. But here's what separates elite fighters from everyone else. Davis didn't back down. He didn't let up. He kept pressing forward because he understood that showing weakness in that moment could cost him everything. The intense exchange that followed taught Davis something valuable about Stevenson's skill level. But more importantly, it reinforced that persistence and mental toughness can overcome even the most technically gifted opponents.
It's discipline, time away from my family. How you gonna beat me? Ain't no way you can beat me that way, bro. Why I keep saying I'm the best. Niggas don't want this shit more than me. I know it. I know it. I want this shit so bad. So bad. Shit easy, yeah. man?
Easy work.
Easy.
Always easy work.
You already know.
Always easy work.
It's supposed to be a sprint.
Let's go.
This ain't no sprint.
No, it's a job. Let's go. We ready.
And get this, Stevenson's training camp has been operating at a completely different intensity level than anything we've seen before. Every single session is approached with the kind of discipline usually reserved for actual fight night. He's not just going through the motions or staying in shape. He's fine-tuning technique with surgical precision. He's pushing his speed to limits that are making his sparring partners look like they're moving in slow motion. His endurance work is so intense that grown men are tapping out just trying to keep up with his pace. But here's what's really impressive: Stevenson's preparation goes way beyond just physical conditioning. He's studying opponents with the dedication of a chess grandmaster. He's analyzing strategies, breaking down fight footage frame by frame, and visualizing different scenarios until he can predict exactly how fights will unfold. His camp emphasizes consistency and precision in every single aspect of his game, from footwork drills to mental preparation exercises. By maintaining this obsessive level of concentration, Stevenson is aiming to enter every ring fully prepared, supremely confident, and in the kind of peak condition that allows him to execute his game plan flawlessly.
It's family, bro. Like I'm never ever fighting Shakur. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. It's not even gonna feel right.
What were some of the experiences like with you guys growing up, like as young men and young teenagers in Virginia? Like what some of those things that shaped you to know, like, he's my brother, man. I could never do that.
Yeah, the moment when I was like, all right, yeah, Shakur, I genuinely actually got real love for you, was when I was going through my deep depression times. Even before I was going into the mental home, I used to tell my brother a lot, but then I started like backing off from my little brother because he was my little brother. I started talking to Shakur a lot about like how I was feeling and how I was thinking and what I was doing to myself. And Shakur was just giving me advice that I really like take in and like, damn, okay, I got you and stuff like that. And then I end up going to the mental home and, you know, like he calling me in there, checking up on me and stuff like that. I get out of the mental home, he pulling up on me, making sure I'm straight, making sure I get back in the gym, making sure I continue to do.
But wait, there's a personal element to this story that makes everything even more complicated. Davis and Stevenson aren't just professional competitors, they're like brothers. From the very beginning of their careers, these two have shared a bond that goes way beyond what happens in the ring. Davis describes their relationship as genuine brotherhood, built on mutual respect and shared experiences coming up through the amateur ranks together. Despite this close personal connection, a competitive rivalry developed that has been pushing both athletes to improve and challenge each other at every stage of their careers. This mix of camaraderie and competition has been the driving force behind their growth as fighters. They've learned from each other's strengths, studied each other's weaknesses, and used their friendship as motivation to reach higher levels. Davis emphasizes that their rivalry has always been rooted in mutual respect and a shared desire to reach the absolute highest levels of boxing. But here's the thing, when brothers step into the ring together, sometimes the most brutal honesty comes out.
It's cool. I mean, that's their opinion. Like, you know, they could say that. But I know he never fought nobody on my level. Like, I'm 1,000,000% sure that T.O. has never seen nobody as good as me in his life.
He's talking about, like, once he gets through you, then he wants Crawford, names like that. How do you think he would do against someone like Terrence at this point?
I think he gets knocked out.
Can't even hang with him.
Yeah, he's too little. Bud is too big for him.
Right. As far as skills, though, do you think he's on par with the likes of Terrence?
I'm not gonna say he's on a Terrence Crawford level of skills, but he's very skillful. He got a lot of things with him that puts him at a high level.
One thing that was interesting to me was it seemed like you were going to move on from Matchroom, but now Eddie Hearn is involved in this, and this is a Matchroom event. It seems like, I know it's a ring card too, but he's promoting it here in the United States. So what is the state of your relationship with Eddie and Matchroom at this point?
Eddie's my guy. I'm actually not signed to Matchroom, but he's my guy. I'm a big fan of Eddie Hearn, and nothing but respect to him. But I'm glad he's the promoter that's on this card. I'm glad to share the spotlight with his promotional company.
So if he's your guy, how come you're not signed to Matchroom?
I mean, it's just business. If it makes sense, then I will. You know, if it come down to it, and that's what makes sense, then we'll do it. But right now, I don't think it makes sense.
Okay, so are you just more of like your own man at this point, your own entity?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Do you negotiate with the ring people, with Turkey? You just do that yourself?
No, me and my manager.
Now listen to this part, because this is where Stevenson shows exactly why he's considered one of boxing's most dangerous rising stars. On the Ariel Helwani show, Stevenson spoke with the kind of confidence that either comes from supreme skill or complete delusion, and based on what we've seen, it's definitely the former. When addressing critics who doubt his readiness to challenge Teofimo Lopez, Stevenson didn't just defend himself, he made a statement that should have Lopez's team worried. He expressed unwavering confidence in his abilities, but more importantly, he explained that Lopez has never encountered an opponent of his caliber. Think about that for a second. Lopez has faced some serious competition, but Stevenson is claiming that this fight will be unlike anything Lopez has experienced. Stevenson's combination of speed, strategy, and adaptability represents a completely different challenge than the power punchers and aggressive fighters Lopez has been dealing with. Shakur stressed that his focus remains on the challenge itself rather than getting caught up in media hype, demonstrating a mindset that's centered on preparation, execution, and the pursuit of greatness. His remarks reflected not only supreme self-assurance, but also a deep understanding of the tactical demands required to succeed against a fighter of Lopez's power and reputation.
And I gotta tell everybody this, that what you call him is real athletic too. Teofimo. So I mean, I don't think it's gonna be an easy fight. You know what I mean? People think, a lot of people say it's gonna be easy and all that. Nah. Teofimo can punch and he can box. And like I said, he's real athletic. So, you know what I mean? That'll make it a little difficult right there, you know what I mean?
I see a lot of people going back and forth with it. Some people think Teo got the advantage because of the weight and that he's athletic and explosive. Some people say Shakur is the better boxer.
Yes.
Right? How you see that fight ending?
Well, they saying, they got the weight and all that. I see Shakur box big guys, light heavyweights and all that stuff. Just like Moose, he box heavyweights and put the heavyweights down. You know what I mean? I think that's the right move for him. You know what I mean? Get up, and I think he can really do good at that weight.
This isn't a stoppage.
I'm looking at a decision, not a stoppage. But then it all according how Teo come in. If Teo come at him, he gonna run into some shots. It might be over. You know what I mean?
Now, you always tell me it's the shot that you don't see coming. That power is speed.
Right.
So, could it be a situation where people underestimate Shakur's punching power?
Yeah. I think Shakur can punch. You know what I mean? I think he can punch. It's just like I said, speed is power. Not them guys, muscle bound guys come in and they tell me, oh, he can punch and all that. Like I just got finished saying, like you just got finished saying, matter of fact, the punch that you don't see knocks him out. And they always say, man, I didn't see.
Here's where it gets even more interesting. Stevenson elaborated on the importance of staying true to his style, and this is crucial for understanding how this fight might play out. He made it clear that he has no intention of adjusting his approach just to meet fan expectations or engage in unnecessary brawls that favor Lopez's strengths. Instead, he's planning to approach the fight with the kind of methodical precision that has made him nearly untouchable. He wants to control distance, dictate timing, and manage pacing in a way that allows him to exploit any openings Lopez presents while minimizing his own exposure to Lopez's explosive power. By maintaining composure and applying his boxing intelligence, Stevenson intends to dictate the flow of the match from the opening bell to the final round. This approach highlights Stevenson's maturity as a fighter and his ability to prioritize strategy over emotion, demonstrating exactly why he's considered one of boxing's most cerebral young talents. But here's the question: can he actually execute this game plan when Lopez starts applying serious pressure?
Teofimo has been a bona fide world champion in 2 divisions. He was the champion at lightweight, had most of the belts, defeated Lomachenko. He did suffer the upset loss to Kambosos. There were some physical issues there that we didn't know about going into the fight, not to make excuses for him. But regardless, he came back and even though maybe he didn't shine and scintillate maybe in some of those fights after that, when it came time to step up and take on the champ, which was Josh Taylor, he shined in that fight. So when Teofimo is matched in a big time opponent, he's delivered, and he's done it, a number of times. And, he looked really good against Taylor. And Shakur, by the way, similar thing. He's been flawless through his career. He may be not the most exciting at times, but Shakur Stevenson gets the job done. He has won titles from featherweight up to lightweight. When his back was against the wall, quote unquote, and everybody had big expectations, and he had a lot of pressure on him not to make it a boring fight and all that kind of business. What did he do in his last fight against William Zepeda? He stood in the pocket, and he fought the guy, and he won handily. He shut him out, basically. He won like 10 rounds to 2. I mean, he fought a unification fight against Oscar Valdez, a fighter that, even though he might have been favored, thought maybe Oscar could do some damage because he was a good puncher and had a great amateur background and a great chin and all those types of things. And he went out there and he routed him also. I mean, so, these are two of the best young elite fighters in boxing. And their fight has been talked about for a long time. They spent most of their careers together at Top Rank, which was a fight. If you ever ask Bob Arum, he'll tell you that was a fight that Top Rank, down the road had their eye on at some point when they were going to be, closer in weight to each other, because obviously Teofimo had started off, a little bit heavier than Shakur, but they would eventually catch up to each other. They're both Olympians, by the way. Teofimo he's American, but he fought for his parents' country of Honduras. In that same Olympic Games, it was Shakur Stevenson winning a silver medal for the United States. I mean, they have all kinds of accomplishment. I do think they have a healthy respect for each other. They know each other for all the years being at Top Rank events together. They fought on the same undercard twice when the main event was Terrence Crawford, who was obviously very close to Shakur, but Teofimo was on those shows also. So, and they're doing it in the right place. This is not a fight they're taking to a place that doesn't make sense. All respect to the big matches they do in Saudi Arabia, but this is the kind of fight that belonged in America, and it didn't belong in Las Vegas. It belongs in New York City at Madison Square Garden. Teofimo is from Brooklyn. Shakur is from Newark, New Jersey, which is a 5-minute train ride from Midtown Manhattan. I mean, it's got everything you want to see. The Garden hasn't had a lot of big fights in the main arena over the last few years. The last one they had was the third fight between Katie Taylor and Serrano. But before that, it'd been, a couple years, I think, since they had a main arena fight. So
Dan Raphael, who's been covering boxing longer than most fighters have been alive, provided his expert perspective on this matchup, and his analysis should have everyone paying attention. Raphael emphasized that this fight represents a classic clash between two completely different fighting philosophies: a technically proficient boxer in Stevenson versus a dynamic, explosive fighter in Lopez. He acknowledged Lopez's ability to change the entire course of a fight with a single perfectly timed punch, while also praising Stevenson's disciplined approach, ring intelligence, and defensive mastery that has frustrated every opponent he's faced. Raphael noted that this combination of contrasting styles makes the contest incredibly compelling because both fighters bring distinct strengths that could dictate the outcome depending on how the fight develops. What makes Raphael's analysis so valuable is his understanding that styles make fights, and these particular styles create the kind of matchup that can go either way depending on who can impose their will first.
Again, yeah, I think Devin Haney setting the trend. Yeah. Yep, he's setting the trend. Now all these young guys starting to test themselves against each other now. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. We want to see who the best is, yo. And then the winner of this fight right here needs to fight Devin Haney. Why not? Keep it going. But anyways, look, this is a message, man. Anybody that's going to be working that hard, y'all better make sure y'all do y'all damn homework. I'm talking about any commentators, any host, anybody. Do your damn homework, man, for real. You know what I'm saying? Because this not going to be one of them fights where it's going to be rock 'em, sock 'em, both guys hitting each other and stuff like that. No, it's going to be small, little nuancey type of things that if you don't know what you watching, you can't tell us what the hell is going on. All the fans at home going to be like, what's going on? You know? That they don't have the knowledge that you supposed to have to give us some food for our damn thoughts. So do your damn homework on this, okay? Oh, that go for everybody that's gonna be calling this fight, because there's every offense that, or every type of any offense that's gonna be landed, it's gonna have to be earned or set up. Both these guys are intelligent, right? Teofimo Lopez, explosive as hell. He's smart as well. Shoot, you got to remember, this man was the first man to beat Lomachenko. Yeah, well before Haney. Yeah, So, look, check this out. And you already know Shakur Stevenson. You know what he bring into the ring. Defense first. Yep, defense first. You ain't getting nothing. I'm gonna get mine when I get mine and when I want to get mine, but you ain't getting nothing. So look, y'all might perceive this fight as being boring and this and that. This gonna be one hell of a technical.
But hold up, because Timothy Bradley's take on this fight reveals something even more significant about what we're witnessing. Bradley, a former world champion and one of the most respected analysts in the sport, examined this matchup through the lens of technical depth and its broader significance for boxing's future. Bradley highlighted how this fight reflects the evolving nature of modern boxing, where young elite fighters are challenging each other to define the next generation's hierarchy in the sport. He drew parallels to fighters like Devin Haney, noting that Stevenson is part of a movement that emphasizes skill, adaptability, and strategic thinking, alongside traditional power and aggression. To Bradley, this fight represents a crucial opportunity for both Stevenson and Lopez to prove their status within the sport, while showcasing how the next generation successfully balances raw physicality with technical excellence. Bradley emphasized that fighters like Stevenson are setting new standards for precision, speed, and tactical awareness, which forces opponents to elevate their own games just to remain competitive. Lopez, known for his explosive athleticism and knockout power, must find ways to adapt to Stevenson's carefully measured approach while still utilizing his natural advantages.
Teofimo Lopez needs opponents like Shakur Stevenson because they are elite fighters. He needs that to bring out the very best in him. I just can't see how it's possible that whilst Teofimo, we've seen a ceiling with him in terms of he's been beaten by certain opponents, we know that he can lose in the ring, but I don't know if that's a genuine ceiling, because I think that his ceiling is actually one of the most changeable in boxing based on who's in front of him. And so actually, I think there's a very, very good chance we're going to see the best possible version of Teofimo Lopez in the ring against Shakur Stevenson. But we should talk about Shakur Stevenson before we get into the nuts and bolts of the fight, what it might look like, and why it's so risky for both men. Now, Shakur Stevenson is currently undefeated. He's 24-0 with 11 KOs. He turned pro back in 2017. He's the same age as Teofimo Lopez at 28 years old, both men in their athletic primes. He's 5'8". I mean, these are on paper heights, so potentially a little bit shorter. He could even be a bit taller than Teofimo Lopez. I really need to see them next to each other.
That's it for today's. And here's the kicker. Bradley suggested that young fighters watching this matchup can learn valuable lessons from both men's approaches to elite-level competition. Stevenson's disciplined methodology and systematic approach to breaking down opponents offers a masterclass in boxing intelligence, while Lopez's ability to assert power and maintain control under intense pressure demonstrates the importance of mental toughness and explosive capability. Bradley ultimately framed this fight as a significant event not just for the two competitors, but for boxing as a whole, illustrating the sport's continued evolution toward more sophisticated, multidimensional fighters. This isn't just about who wins or loses, it's about which fighting philosophy will dominate the next era of boxing. Will technical precision and defensive mastery continue to rise in importance, or will explosive power and aggressive pressure prove to be the ultimate equalizers? The answer to that question could shape how the next generation of fighters approaches their craft. Now here's something that should have Lopez's team really concerned. Multiple analysts have noted that Lopez tends to reach his absolute peak performance only when he's challenged by truly elite opposition, which means his overall ceiling is directly influenced by the quality of opponents standing across from him. In facing Shakur Stevenson, Lopez is expected to operate at the highest possible level, demanding perfect precision, flawless timing, and full utilization of his reflexes and athletic ability. This dynamic suggests that the fight will push both athletes to demonstrate their absolute best capabilities, with Lopez needing to rely on his speed, power, and strategic awareness just to remain competitive throughout the fight. The analysis emphasized that Lopez's natural aggressiveness and offensive instincts must be complemented by discipline and patience that he hasn't always shown in previous fights. Against a boxer like Stevenson, reckless exchanges or poorly timed attacks will be immediately exploited and potentially punished severely. Stevenson's proven ability to control distance, read opponents' tendencies, and anticipate attacks before they're fully developed significantly increases the challenge for Lopez in ways that his previous opponents simply couldn't match. So there you have it. We've got leaked sparring footage showing Stevenson getting knocked out. We've got expert analysis suggesting this fight will define the next generation of boxing. and we've got both fighters claiming they're ready to prove their superiority. This isn't just another boxing match. This is a clash of philosophies, a test of preparation versus natural ability, and potentially a changing of the guard in the sport. The question isn't just who's going to win anymore. The question is whether technical mastery can overcome explosive power when both fighters are operating at their absolute peak. What do you think happens when these two finally step into the ring together? Drop your predictions in the comments below. And if this breakdown helped you understand what's really at stake in this fight, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell because this is just the beginning of what's going to be an incredible few months in boxing. I'll see you in the next one. But wait, there's something else brewing behind the scenes that nobody's talking about, and it could completely change everything we think we know about this fight. Sources close to both camps are whispering about a potential shift in the timeline that has promoters scrambling and fans wondering if this dream matchup might happen sooner than anyone expected. The boxing politics that usually slow down these mega fights are suddenly moving at lightning speed, and there's a reason for that. Money talks in boxing, and the numbers being thrown around for this fight are absolutely insane. We're talking about pay-per-view projections that rival some of the biggest fights in recent memory, streaming deals that could reshape how boxing content gets distributed, and international broadcast rights that have networks bidding against each other like it's the last fight on Earth. Here's where this gets really interesting, though. Tank Davis just dropped some comments that have everyone in the boxing community doing double takes. During a recent interview, Davis made it clear that he's been watching this whole Stevenson-Lopez situation develop, and he's not impressed with either fighter's resume. But here's the thing that caught my attention. Davis specifically mentioned that whoever wins this fight still has to prove themselves against the real killers in the division. He's essentially calling out both Stevenson and Lopez before they've even fought each other, which tells you everything you need to know about the confidence level of elite fighters right now. Davis pointed out that both guys have been protected to some degree, that neither has faced the kind of opposition that really tests your chin, your heart, and your ability to dig deep when everything's on the line. This creates a fascinating dynamic where the winner of Stevenson versus Lopez immediately becomes a target for fighters who feel like they've been overlooked in favor of more marketable matchups. And speaking of marketability, the promotional machine behind this fight is unlike anything we've seen in recent years. Both fighters have massive social media followings, both have compelling personal stories, and both represent different aspects of what makes boxing appealing to different demographics. Stevenson appeals to the purists who appreciate technical mastery and boxing IQ, while Lopez draws fans who want explosive action and knockout power. The promotional strategy is genius because it's not trying to force either fighter into a box they don't fit. Instead, it's highlighting the contrast and letting fans choose sides based on their preferred style of entertainment. Behind the scenes, both camps are working with media consultants, social media strategists, and content creators to build narrative momentum that extends far beyond traditional boxing coverage. This isn't just about selling a fight anymore. It's about creating a cultural moment that transcends the sport itself. But here's what's really got me excited about this whole situation. The undercard for this fight is shaping up to be absolutely stacked with young talent that could steal the show. We're talking about prospects who have been waiting months for this kind of platform, fighters who see this as their opportunity to announce themselves to the boxing world on the biggest stage possible. The co-main event alone features two undefeated fighters who have been calling each other out on social media for over a year, and their beef is so real that security had to separate them at the press conference announcement. Then you've got rising contenders who are using this card as their audition for future main event slots, each one knowing that a spectacular performance on this stage could change their entire career trajectory overnight. The depth of talent on display means that fans are getting incredible value, but it also means that Stevenson and Lopez have to deliver something special to avoid being overshadowed by hungrier fighters who have nothing to lose. Now let me break down something that most people are missing about the psychological warfare that's already started between these camps. Stevenson's team has been strategically releasing training footage that shows him working on specific techniques that directly counter Lopez's favorite combinations. They're not trying to hide their game plan, they're flaunting it, essentially telling Lopez's camp that they know exactly what's coming and they're prepared for it. This level of confidence either comes from supreme preparation or it's an elaborate bluff designed to get inside Lopez's head. Meanwhile, Lopez's team has been notably quiet about their preparation, which could mean they're keeping their cards close to the chest, or it could mean they're still figuring out how to solve the Stevenson puzzle. The mental game in boxing is often more important than the physical preparation, and right now it feels like Stevenson's team is trying to plant seeds of doubt, while Lopez's team is maintaining an air of mysterious confidence. Here's something that should have everyone paying attention to the betting odds and how they've been shifting over the past few weeks. Initially, Lopez opened as a slight favorite based on his power and proven ability to rise to big occasions. But as more footage emerges of Stevenson's training, as more analysts break down his technical advantages, and as more people remember how thoroughly he's dominated every opponent he's faced, those odds have been steadily shifting in Stevenson's favor. Professional gamblers and sharp money have been heavily backing Stevenson, which tells you that people who make their living analyzing fights see something that casual fans might be missing. The line movement suggests that those who understand the technical aspects of boxing believe Stevenson's skills will be too much for Lopez to overcome. But here's the thing about boxing. It only takes one perfectly placed punch to make all the technical analysis meaningless, and Lopez has that kind of power in both hands. What's really fascinating is how this fight is being viewed internationally, especially in markets where boxing is experiencing massive growth. Promoters in the UK are already talking about hosting the rematch, assuming this first fight lives up to the hype. Streaming platforms in Asia are bidding aggressively for exclusive rights because both fighters have been building followings in markets that represent the future of boxing's global expansion. Mexican broadcasters are treating this like it's their own fighters, competing because of the technical excellence on display, and the respect both Stevenson and Lopez have shown for boxing's rich traditions. This global interest means that both fighters are competing not just for American supremacy, but for the kind of worldwide recognition that turns good fighters into legitimate superstars who can headline events anywhere in the world. And here's the final piece that ties everything together. This fight represents a generational shift that goes beyond just these two fighters. We're watching the torch get passed from one era of boxing to the next, where social media savvy meets traditional boxing excellence, where technical mastery combines with modern training methods, and where young fighters understand that building a brand is just as important as building a winning record. Both Stevenson and Lopez represent the future of boxing in different ways, and their clash will likely determine which approach becomes the template for the next generation of elite fighters. The winner doesn't just get a belt or a payday, they get to define what boxing excellence looks like for the next decade. That's why this fight matters so much more than just another championship bout. And that's why every serious boxing fan needs to be paying attention to what happens when these two finally settle their differences in the ring.